All right, hello and welcome to the final NFL team preview video for the 2020 season. We're wrapping all of this up with the final team, the Arizona Cardinals, out of the NFC West division. So let's begin. It's the last one. We've previewed all 32 teams, and it concludes with the Cardinals today. Now we get to move on to other more fun stuff. It was a long haul to get to this point. But anyway, Arizona Cardinals, interesting team, and I think I'm not super confident penciling them in as a dark horse candidate to make a push for the playoffs. But if things go their way and everything clicks, this could be a dark horse candidate to make a run at the sixth seed in the playoffs. And the only thing really holding them back is experience and the fact that they play in a division that is really, really, really strong with the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers. So you're going to have to steal a couple of wins to get ahead in this division, and that's what they're going to need to do after a 5-10-1 season. Offense ranked 21st in the league overall last year, 24th in passing, 10th in rushing. Defense was 32nd in the league, dead last, 31st against the pass, 24th against the run. Cliff Kingsbury is your head coach, and he is entering his second season after a 5-10-1 campaign. Snapshot of the previous 4 years: in 2018 they were 3-13, 2017 they were 8-8, and in 2016 they were 7-8-1, and in 2015 they were 13-3. 13-3 season feels like a really long time ago. But as far as last year goes, I mean, 2 years ago, you take Josh Rosen with the 10th overall pick in the draft. That season absolutely does not work out. It was the team was just a dead fish in the water, and you end up with the worst record in the league and the first overall pick in the draft the next year. So enter Cliff Kingsbury, who I think probably got the job saying that he would be able to fix Josh Rosen, but he was connected with Kyler Murray because of quotes that he had given to reporters a number of years ago about how if he had an NFL team and the opportunity to draft him, he would do it. And he ended up actually doing that. So he went with Kyler Murray for his first overall draft pick last year. And it wasn't a breakout campaign or anything like that, but it was still pretty decent for what he was able to do. And the nice thing about Cliff Kingsbury that we saw last year, he was willing to adjust after the first month not being that productive. He was trying to keep his offensive scheme close to the vest during the preseason. He didn't want to give too much away. And then he sort of leaned on the run as the second half of the season went along and after the Kenyon Drake trade. So maybe a focus on a more balanced offense this year will help them along in a pursuit of a playoff spot. So having said all that, let's take a look at the projected starting depth chart for the Cardinals for the season. We'll start on the offense. The offensive line, I have said in the past, I have felt needed upgraded, and lo and behold, I was wrong. Go figure. It just goes to show you what good coaching and the right pieces at the right spot can do. It reminds me a lot of the 2017 offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings, where they had a lot of patchwork in their offensive line, but they made it look phenomenal with really good coaching, really good play calling, and the fact that they were able to stay primarily healthy. So the offensive line should be just as good this season, if not a little bit better. It'll be interesting to see which players take a step further. And then, of course, I got to mention Humphries, who is a pretty good left tackle. Quarterback, we've already talked about Kyler Murray. He can beat you with his legs. He can beat you with his arm. He needs to make better, quicker decisions with the football. Suffered 48 sacks last year. But I still think that he has the skill set and the talent to be a star in this league. For the running back position, we have the aforementioned Kenyon Drake, who had 640-some yards last year in 8 games. If you span that out over the course of a 16-game season, we're looking at a potential 1,100-yard season running back here, which is pretty good. For his pass catchers, also, Chase Edmonds is in the building. Don't forget about him. For the pass catchers at tight end, we have Max Williams. Larry Fitzgerald returns for what feels like his 100th year. People like to complain about Frank Gore's longevity. How about this guy's? And then, of course, we have the new wide receiver star, if you will, all pro. I really don't know what what word I want to use to describe him, but they made a trade for DeAndre Hopkins with the Houston Texans, absolutely fleecing them that deal, and being able to get out of David Johnson's contract was a really great move by the Cardinals, in my opinion. And DeAndre Hopkins comes into this offense with Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray, so I don't think he's going to miss a beat at all, and I think it's going to help this passing game ascend higher than 24th in the league. Behind those couple guys, you have Christian Kirk, who's been injury prone for a couple of years. Andy Isabella, who was a second round pick a year ago, hasn't seen a lot of playing time on the field. Keyshawn Johnson, just to name a few. They have a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. It's just got to finally hit its stride, if you will. And now you have DeAndre Hopkins. That's going to take some pressure off those other guys. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, secondary is pretty good with Baker and Thompson at safety. Baker, of course, getting that huge contract extension within the last couple of weeks. At the corner position, you have Kirkpatrick and Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson missed a lot of time with his suspension last year. Once that suspension was over, he came in and he wasn't himself, having missed all of that time with the team. So I think this year, having been removed from that, we're going to see a better Patrick Peterson this season, and then that should lead to a better secondary and a better pass defense. For the front seven, you have, of course, Chandler Jones, who's one of the more elite pass rushers in this game. It is an absolute crime that he is not a household name at this point, as he should be. You also have their first-round pick this year, jack of all trades, master of none, Isaiah Simmoms. It'll be interesting to see what they're able to do with him. For the moment, I'm going to pencil him in as a 3-4 outside linebacker, but there's also, the possibility he plays safety up in the box. For the defensive line, Zach Allen is an interesting player who has been in the league now for, I believe it's been 2 years. He was drafted in 2019 out of Boston College, former third-round pick. So I would like to see him progress this season. That would be really good. And then we've also got Phillips and Peters, not the most intimidating defensive line, but one that should be able to handle it, given that opposing offensive lines have to now focus on both Chandler Jones and Isaiah Simmoms. So that is a look at your projected starting depth chart for the Arizona Cardinals for the 2020 season. Let's take a look at the schedule. Open season on the road against the 49ers, home games against the Washington football team and Lions, 3 straight road games, Panthers, Jets, and Cowboys, Seahawks, and Dolphins at home to end the first half of the season. Bye week is week 8. First half of the season, we're going to find out what this team's made of with a road game against the Niners. Not to say that that's going to be the definitive end result for the team going forward for the rest of the season, but going up against the defending NFC champions in your first game in their house should be able to tell us a lot about where this team is going to be headed. Washington, Detroit, and Panthers, 3 winnable games. The Jets is an absolute winnable game. I think when I do my projections or predictions video, I may have the Jets ending up with the number 1 overall pick next year, even though a lot of people seem to think, even based on Vegas odds, that that's going to go to Jacksonville. The Cowboys, Seahawks, and Dolphins, that's a pretty good stretch of games. Second half of the season, our home game against the Bills, Seahawks, Patriots on the road, Rams at home, Giants on the road, Eagles, 49ers at home, and then Rams on the road to end the season. I think the second half is probably more favorable, given that you have teams like the Giants, the Eagles. The Rams are probably, they're probably on par with them right now, I would say, but that doesn't mean that they should be sleeping on them. Your schedule is not the most difficult in the world, but again, it leaves you, I would say, very minimal margin for error, if I could put it that way. 3 big storylines that I'm looking at this year. Isaiah Simmoms, how are they going to use him? It was one of those talks before the draft that defensive coordinators and coaches might be afraid to draft him because they wouldn't know what to do with him. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets utilized. Second big storyline, the more balanced offensive attack that we could see with Kenyon Drake getting a full season load of work, if you will, and also having Chase Edmonds to spell him every now and then. And as I said, we could be looking at a potential 1,100, even 1,200 yard rushing season out of him. For the third storyline is Patrick Peterson. Is he going to be the corner that we knew before the suspension? And I think without question that should be what we end up seeing. So that's going to do it for this episode, and this is the final preview video for the 2020 season. Thank you very much for watching, and season's going to start pretty soon.